He would ask me to do things and ask me to be a certain way, or ask me to fix a situation, or ask me to share some information with him, or whatever, all these things to be able to fix our relationship. And I did every one of the things that he asked me to. And then it just wasn't good enough. So it just came down to, you're asking if loyalty was enough, and it wasn't for him.
Is it hard for you to see him be emotionally available to somebody else?
Yeah. Yep.
Is that like a dagger in your heart?
It's like a knife in my kidney.
Hey friends, it's Kody from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It is Monday, December 4th, 2023, and I hope all of you are having a wonderful day. On Friday, we had talked about how Christine had revealed a secret of Meri's that she had never talked about publicly and how it made Meri extremely upset. And we discussed that this was Meri's story to tell and that Meri had expressed her frustration for Christine outing the secret without her consent. And last night, we actually heard Meri divulge what actually happened with the wedding rings, and it is horrible. I have never been more disturbed, I think, in my life watching reality television, because what she revealed proves that everything that's been on the show has been false. You know that the show is fake. And unfortunately, people on the show think it's real. And so we all talk about the things that we see and we hear them say. And they do say those things, and the things that we're watching are happening. The conversations are happening. But what they're not showing is the truth, right? So they're in a way kind of acting. And so you'll see some of the conflicts and you'll see some of the ways that they don't get along. And I think it shows you maybe a sanitized version of their disagreements. But for years, it felt like there was a lot of missing pieces about this animosity towards Meri, this frustration they had for each other, Meri's utter unhappiness, and this whole idea that Kody was this benevolent, amazing man that had all these women and they all loved him, and that it was a functional polygamous family. And Meri proved last night on the show that that is an incredible lie. The entire premise of the show was constructed on a lie, and the entire show was fake, and Meri was pretty much forced to stay. So this is where we're going to talk about this particular part of the episode. I'm not going to talk about everything else. We'll do that in another video, because I feel like this is a very pivotal reveal by Meri that deserves its own video. So let's dive into the topic. Before we do, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe to my channel, and make sure to ring the bell so you never miss a video.
Kind of disturbing, because some of the things that he's frustrated about with Christine, he did to me.
Ironically, Meri's trying to support me, and I don't want to be in a relationship with her anymore.
So on the episode, they watch the clip where Kody and Robyn come over to Meri's house, and she tells them that she's moving to Parowan, Utah. She's moving her business there, and Kody wants to put her in storage in the barn dominium. And Meri notices that Cody's wearing a new ring, right? And she asks Kody about the ring, and Kody is kind of just contrite about it, just like, it's just a ring.
Sorry, I'm distracted by your ring. That's a different ring.
Just a ring.
So are you going to actually...
What he didn't say is that in this tell-all, he said that he took off the Claddagh ring before Janelle had left him and before Meri had left him. And he did that as a new beginning, and he got this ring, and he got this ring with Robyn. So basically, after Christine left him, he and Robyn went out and got a brand new ring, okay? And this was before Janelle had left and before Meri had officially terminated. So they had made it, and then Robyn got her own matching ring. So at that point, the two of them had decided together that they were a new beginning together, even before the other wives were gone. It's gross.
Saw this really cool ring.
Okay.
It was way nicer. I went, that's cool. I want that. And it was over here, and my wedding ring was on, and And some things happened, and I just went, those relationships are over. I went like this.
This admission by Kody will sort of set the stage for you about what Kody does when he doesn't want a wife to have claim on him anymore. He uses the ring as a weapon against them and will replace it with a new ring. And Meri discusses after Christine reveals this detail. Now, there's been a lot of pushback for Meri online because she was upset with Christine for revealing the secret. And I just want to say that people are saying she's misdirecting her anger at Christine. And I don't disagree that she's upset at Christine, maybe for the wrong reasons, but I understand why she's upset with Christine because this experience was extremely traumatic for her, and it was also extremely abusive of what Kody did to her. And she likely carries a lot of trauma and fear about telling this story. What Kody did to her is I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy, and the position that it placed Meri in is horrific. It's 2008. Kody meets Robyn. They're dating or courting at this point, and they've also signed a contract with TLC. So they're under contract at this point with the network to make it appear like they're one big happy family. And the goal of the show at this point is to make it seem like Kody is not like the other polygamists. They are all in functional marriages. He equally divides all of his time. He loves all of his wives equally. And on the show, he's telling everyone how much he loves Meri and what a soulmate Meri is to him. But behind the scenes, before the show even goes to air, so it's very likely that the show is filming at this point, but it hasn't aired yet. Okay? And what he's telling Meri is in complete contrast to what he's saying on the show, which proves the entire show was built upon a lie. So Meri was not revealing this probably for her own safety, her own fear of retaliation from Kody, the fear of what this could do to the show, the fear of the network, because breach of contract is real with this series, okay? And they will sue people on the show if they breach contract, if they disparage the show, if they cause injury to the show. They've done this to plenty of cast members on series on TLC. She could have been not saying anything, one, because of the trauma it caused her, and two, for the fear of retaliation from Kody or the fear of the retaliation from the network. Okay? So we've already shown you that she was upset with Christine. Let's discuss her version of what happened.
So right around the time that Robyn came into the family, and I cannot remember if she was married or if they were dating. I want to say that they were just dating or courting. And he had kind of talked about not wearing the wedding ring that I gave to him anymore. It was right around that same time.
Kody meets Robyn in 2008, right after Robyn gets divorced. And they start filming the show within, I don't even know, very quickly after they meet. Because of the contract with TLC, Kody was basically showcasing his new relationship with Robyn with the world at the same time as introducing his family. In the very early episodes of Sister Wives, you'll actually see Kody wearing a wedding ring on his hand. And Kody wore that ring for a period of time, and then he stopped wearing that ring. And she says that when Kody was in the relationship with Robyn, as soon as Robyn comes in or around the time she comes in, he decides he wants to stop wearing the wedding ring. And he is apparently making this decision on his own right, okay? And it's very clear in the evidence from the previous early seasons that he did have this ring on his finger in the early seasons, in the at least season number 1. When he melted it down, that I don't know. But she says when Robyn joins, he decides that he doesn't want to start wearing his wedding ring anymore. So that's laying the framework. She's under contract at this point, and she is basically in a hold with the network, and she is stuck.
He had told me that he did not want me to have claim on him. He didn't think that it was fair that I had claim on him. And so his way of doing that was to melt down the wedding ring. That was a symbol. That was a sign of like our marriage and our commitment, and he melted it down.
So Kody makes this decision that he's going to melt down the wedding ring because he doesn't want to have Meri have any claim over him, meaning he's legally attached to Meri. He's legally her husband, legally, spiritually, all of it. And while the show is filming, he doesn't divorce her, obviously, in the beginning, because that would make the entire show seem like fraud, which it was. So instead, he punishes her and melts down her ring. And then she's, in a way, forced to keep filming. And you watch those very early seasons, you see Meri's heartbreak. She talks about how she has thought about leaving. She begs him to work on their marriage. She's crying. And there's an episode where he tells her that it would be vulgar for her to have another, like a boyfriend. Like the thought of her having companionship was vulgar to him. And then he professed his undying love for her. That was season 1. Season 1, she was telling people point blank that she was unhappy in her marriage, and Kody had melted down her ring. I mean, I don't know how you can ignore the fact that this woman was trapped and that Kody was using the show to abuse her. And, you know, she's going to further discuss that next.
Who's to say that he didn't just melt down our whole relationship in that moment? Symbolically, that's what he did to me. Because I remember asking him, if you're not going to wear it, can I just have it? Can I keep it? Oh no, I melted it down. I didn't want you to have any claim on me. It was a very, very painful situation.
So he makes the decision to melt a ring down without talking to her about it. And she finds out about it, and she confronts him and asks him about getting this ring back. And he still won't let her have the ring. And he's just like, no, I don't want you to have claim on me. I melted it down. He melted down their marriage. And she's right. He did symbolically melt down their marriage. And this whole idea about polygamous men having legal wives and then having concubines, and some people get upset with me for using the word concubine, but concubine is the word that the Doctrine and Covenants calls the women that are plural wives. Because they cannot legally be wives, legally they're considered concubines because they have lesser rights than a legal wife. Because Meri held legal rights in that marriage, she had legal rights to his Social Security, to half of his assets, to the properties that he owned. And even if he owned things with the other wives, she still had claims to that. So he's symbolically, in a way, abusing her, and then she's forced to stay in a situation and play on camera as though she's happy. And everyone in the family during this time is calling Meri abusive, and they're talking about their struggles with Meri, and Kody is helping facilitate all of that. And you put Meri in a position where she's constantly on the defense. So you start to really understand the significance of him changing the ring, but you also understand the horror that Meri's been facing the entire time the show has been on air. Kody has not wanted to be with her this whole time, and for years they were faking a relationship because of contracts and because there was a lot of pressure on them to promote polygamy to make it appear normal to the masses. Like they weren't like other polygamists, that men weren't abusive, that women were not chattel, that women had rights. And for anyone that says Meri should have left, I would say you need to understand and please educate yourself on these polygamous cults and how much control these men have on these women and how much fear these women face when they try to leave. And you will see Kody acting now how he is about these women leaving, and you just understand back then they didn't have the resources they have today. They didn't have the money they have today. They didn't have the public exposure they had today. They can only leave now because of the show, because of everything that's happened and the status and Meri's business that has made her independent of him.
This thing with Kody telling me that I didn't have any claim on him or on our marriage, and him melting down like a symbol, like a very important symbol of our marriage, happened probably 7 years prior to the catfishing. And I spent those 7 years trying to be in this relationship with Kody that he did not want to be in with me.
So Meri, for 6-7 years, I'm sure it was like 6 years, maybe, I don't know, that she's trapped in this situation after Kody melts down the ring because he's wearing the ring when he marries Robyn. I don't know if he melts it down thereafter, but it's very early when this show airs. And then she's forced to be in this relationship and on television because they're on contracts. And they have this group, Principal Voices, and all of these advocates trying to legalize polygamy, putting pressure on them to make polygamy look normal and that the women are free. Meanwhile, on the show, Kody doesn't want to be with her, but he is playing into her insecurities about not being able to have more children. He is using her fertility struggles for storylines, baiting her and leaving her breadcrumbs about, maybe we could try to have a baby. We could try IVF. Do you want to go through fertility? Robyn offers surrogacy. So they're giving her little tiny breadcrumbs, which give her just enough to hold on, only to time after time after time rip that away from her. Kody, for years, wants her to make a decision about the baby. And then when he finally asks her what she wants to do, he tells her, I don't want to do this with her. So for years, he's like, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. And then he sits her down and he's like, nah, I don't want to do this. And he's done these little breadcrumbs with her for years. And breadcrumbing is a tactic that narcissists use, according to Psychology Today, to keep their victims close enough to them and giving them a little bit of hope without making them fully disengage with them. So he's giving Meri tiny bits of hope to hold on and then not following up on it and then coming back and giving her more hope. And so for people not understanding why she would stay, that's why she would stay. On top of that, her faith. She's a victim of narcissistic abuse. And then everyone on the show, her entire family, is taking part in Kody's smear campaign against her. And the reason why I believe they're smearing Meri is because Meri has all the information about Kody. Meri was his legal wife for 24 years. Meri was privy to every detail about his life. Meri was the person that he had legal ties to, and she was the favorite wife for a very long time. And so Kody and Meri, she knows things about Kody that would end the show. She knows that all of his dirty secrets, all of the dirty laundry, all of the financial secrets, she knows. And so Kody needs to devalue her, degrade her, and diminish her to keep her self-esteem so low that she won't go. That's my opinion. And so by consistently smearing her, she feels powerless. And then he's also reducing her credibility by saying she's abusive, no one likes her, everyone hates her, don't trust her, so that when she finally does speak out, she's deemed untrustworthy. And again, people are mad that she's lashing out at Christine for breaking the secret, but I think Meri's fearful of the retaliation of Kody and of these cults because she has witnessed what happens to the wives of Kody's friends when they expose their secrets. Kody's best friend's wife was beaten. So they know very well what the fears are when a woman stands up to this cult.
Was it things like that that had happened throughout all these years leading up to me just wanting to have a friend? Because Lord knows I didn't have any in my family.
Meri was so vulnerable, and she had lived inside a cult that left her very isolated and insulated from the outside world. And she grew up fearing outsiders, fearing that these people outside of their culture wanted to harm her and were not safe individuals. And so she was vulnerable to people online as a catfish. She was vulnerable to other predators. And that's another issue with women that leave this culture, is they are vulnerable because from the time they are born until the time they have a marriage, they are groomed into believing that their only righteous path is to become a plural wife and that their only goal in life is to be a wife and a broodmare for their quote unquote husband. They are not bred to be independent or have a voice or have a choice. And Kody in many ways resented Meri's, I'm sure, independence, her ability to tell him and call him out on his stuff. And I think it's just very telling that, once she gets involved in the catfish, that's further used as a weapon against her by Kody for years and by the family, even McKelty using it as a weapon to say, you cheated on Kody. My mom didn't. She was a legal wife. Meri was a legal wife, and Kody cheated on her. Under the grounds of legalities, Kody committed adultery multiple times on Meri. Not only that, he fathered 13 children outside of his marriage with Meri. 6 with Christine, 6 with Janelle, and 1 with Robyn, because when he and Robyn had Ariella, they were finally legally married. He committed legally adultery. He committed fraud because, you know, he's not on the birth certificates for Christine's children. He had Christine getting welfare and using food stamps. He had his wives committing bankruptcy fraud, claiming that they didn't have significant others, that their spouses weren't providing resources or anything. They were using the system. He was using his wives to get welfare, to get Medicaid. So he's producing all of these children that he's not taking care of. Meanwhile, they've spent a lot of time on these seasons saying that Christine was the wife that stayed home. But early on, when the kids were really young, it was Meri that actually stayed home with the kids. So it's just, you know, when you understand how much Meri has been put in a place of complete and utter paralysis because of Kody, because this cult is so dangerous, I can understand why she would be frustrated that this was outed, because she was retaliated. She could be retaliated against, right? And it could be breach of contract. There could be we don't know the kind of threats that Kody's making to her off camera, right? So the show from day one has been fraud. The show from day one has been fraud, and Kody has been using the show to manipulate and abuse his wives. And it's made further worse by Robyn at the very end when she's confronted about this melting down. She denies that this happens. And she said it happened before she met Kody and before she joined the family, which further proves that Robyn knew that things in this family were not right before she joined. And on top of that, she's lying.
And then he kind of wore that gold ring. But then he melted down the gold ring Meri had given him when you came into.
No, he had done that before I came along.
Okay.
It wasn't when I came in the family. It was way before that. He wasn't wearing a wedding ring when I met him.
Okay.
I've already shown you in pictures that Kody was wearing a ring when he met Robyn. He was seen in the first season wearing a gold ring that had diamonds. This ring was not worn for very long. He actually even had this ring on his hand when he got married to Robyn. There's a photograph of all of their hands at the wedding, and you see a gold ring on Kody's hand. Kody wore this ring, and then he stopped wearing this ring, and then he wasn't wearing any ring for a while. And she's like, no, he wasn't wearing a ring when I first met him. Even though on the day that he proposes to her, he has a wedding ring on. He's literally wearing a wedding ring when he's proposing to her with a string. And the way that she can lie just so easily blows my mind. And she can just say, no, that didn't happen. He didn't wear a ring when I met him. Even though there's film from season 1 of him wearing a wedding ring. She will never, ever, even if it's not her fault that the ring was melted down, okay? Kody makes this decision. Maybe it's not her fault that he does this, okay? But even the fact that it happened when she knew him, she refuses to acknowledge. Because Robyn refuses to believe that Kody changed and decided to abandon his family because of her. Because Robyn does not want to be viewed to the public as a homewrecker. And that image to her is so important. She wrote about it in the book, Becoming Sister Wives. She was so concerned that after the first couple seasons, they were making her look like a homewrecker and that fans didn't like her. She was so concerned that she was coming in last on the polls of who the favorite sister wife was her, and she was the last one. And she was concerned that if they viewed her in that image, that they would not be doing their job to represent polygamy in a positive way and show the positive sides of polygamy. So she had talked to producers about not showing them everything about her or being very careful about how they showed her because she didn't want them to tarnish the way that they portrayed polygamy to the public. So Robyn doesn't want to look like a homewrecker because she doesn't want to be responsible for the fraud. If she would just admit it, it would be easier than having to find pictures of him literally wearing a wedding ring to prove that she's lying. And the fact that Suki doesn't even call her out and there's no video in there that shows that she's lying, it They would do this on any other show. And Kody's never asked about the melting down at all. Never confronted about it. They let him off the hook. And there's no follow through about the fraud the show perpetuated since the beginning. And then when you have Janelle and Christine doing an interview with Us Weekly, and they're portraying the situation as, well, Kody just did that because he wanted to make rings for our daughters. Maybe that's what he told them, but that's not what he told Meri. And so they're perpetuating the abuse of Kody onto Meri through the smear campaign. Whether they're doing it directly or indirectly, they might not even know that they're being used as flying monkeys for Kody. But Kody has manipulated all of these women so much to hate Meri, and she's the villain, so that they don't notice that he's the one that's perpetuating the abuse on them. And they finally have wisened up. So 3 of them have wisened up, okay? But they still haven't realized that Meri wasn't the problem. It was Kody. It's just so sad to me. And she doesn't have any support in the family or any friends, and she's been villainized. And sure, if she did things to the kids, I understand that they would be upset, but all of the wives have done things to the kids. None of the wives' hands are clean when it comes to the children. All of them have been party to the exploitation and the abuse that Kody has inflicted upon them on this show, and using them for financial gain. And all of them are part of a fundamentalist system where children are corporal punishment is standard. And all of them knew that Kody was using corporal punishment on their kids. And yet Meri's the one that's called out about it. When have they ever called out Kody for being physical with the kids? They haven't. None of the wives have. So that's basically the significance of her in the story, is that this entire show was perpetuated on a fraud. And this is why I believe Gwendolyn says that Meri has been the most abused. Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. Bye, guys.